decades, I would say.
Yep.
So I think Patrick wants to say a big thank you on behalf of the class.
I do. Simon, thank you very much for your continued support and for developing what I think is fantastic Superspar M2 mast and the stiff boom. Great setup, and obviously they're on quite a lot of the boats now.
Yeah,
so as I said, thank you on behalf of the class for supporting us and continue to support us. And on that note, I'll let Will ask the next question.
Simon, obviously, Superspars, obviously don't just do solo sales, solo masts, you do, I know you're really big in the 470 class, aren't you?
470, 420, 505, fireball, yeah.
And so specifically then to the solo, obviously this M2 has really sort of taken off, I'd say, in the last couple of years. Had some very good results. Andy Davis, I think, was sort of helped in developing
it,
yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit of the technical data on that mast?
Well, the M2 is now, we've got two weights of mast tube for the M2. One is a heavy one and one is a light one. The heavier one we're tending to use on things like 505 where you want more stiffness, but the lighter one we're using for the solo specifically. So what we tend to do is we tend to, over the years we've developed processes where we can control the extrusion, because as you may or may not know, extrusion, as you push more aluminium through the die to make an extrusion for the mast, it gets heavier. So it starts at its very lightest and ends up heavy, but because we've got two dies, what we tend to do is when the heavy one gets to its heaviest weight tolerance, it usually breaks, and when they remake the die, it goes back to light again. So we're always weighing as the extrusion comes in through the door. We weigh the extrusion and we record it, so we can see a pattern over a period of time, so we know what we're starting with. So we know what we're starting with from a weight point of view, and then it goes through the process of tapering and hardening and all that sort of stuff, and then goes off to the anodizing. And the anodizing process is a process which tends to be a variable that we also like to control, because when it comes back from the anodizers, we weigh it again and we record the weight. So if a solo sailor, for example, wants a lighter mast, we can make it as close to maximum weight as possible, and we do that by weighing it before we make it, cut the sleeve to the absolute minimum so it makes minimum weight, because the last thing you want is more weight. You know, if you talk to some of the sailmakers, the key for the solo class is to have as light a mast but within the class rules. So that's where we've enhanced the development of the solo. We've also got M7, which we can also fluctuate the weight, which we do for the 470.
When I do all my videoing, and for instance, Oliver Davenport from B&B, that's got been using the M2, and I was surprised how much sideways mast bend there is in that rig. I mean, obviously there's some personal preferences regarding the rig tension, but and I also noticed how narrow the top of the mast is. So that's to open up for gust response.
Yes. Well, that's the ideal. We try and harden the mast to its optimum hardness, as hard as you can get it, because what that allows you to have is more tensile strength. I mean, sailors often talk about a soft mast or a stiff mast. I don't like using the soft word because it's either less stiff or more stiff.
Okay. Yeah.
Soft means potentially that it's not hard.
Okay.
So the tensile strengths give you that gust responsiveness.
Okay.
So the speed of when it bends under tension, and if you're trying to depower it, springing back into its position is very, very quick because of the tensile strength.
For a light sailor, have you got a mast that would be specific for them?
Well, we've got three. Now we're using the M2 predominantly, but we've got M7, which has always been in the solo fleet. We've got 3 weights of mast for the M7, and that predominantly came from development that we did with the 470 sailors.
Yeah.
So what we do there is we tend to focus on, again, the mast weight, but it's actually the tube weight without any fittings. So we've got 3 weights. For a 470, this is not really applicable to the solo, but in principle it is, that you weigh the tube. So for a 470, which is a 6.8 metre length tube rather than the solo, it's just over 6 metres, 6.4 kilos is for the lighter sailors, 6.6, 6.7 for the medium weight crews, and 6.8 to 7 kilos. So what we do again with the M7 is, as they come through the extrusion, we've got 3 dies for the extrusion. We weigh them and record them as they come through, so we can see the pattern of the weight growing.
Yeah.
And then as they come back from the anodizing can take off a little bit more or a little bit less depending on the strength of the acid. Then we weigh the mast again, and a solo mast would be proportional, obviously, 6 metres, so I don't know what the weight would be, but we know what the weight is in the factory.
Yeah.
So we do the same, and then if for the very, very light crews, we've got M1, which is right at the bottom.
Yeah, wow. I remember using an M1 when I was about 75 kilos, about 40 years ago, so...
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, like, obviously you store a lot of data there, and that's what you use, really, to...
Well, we started it back in 2000, almost Beijing, 2008. Because it was purported for the 470 fleet it was going to be very, very light winds, so everybody wanted stiff masts. And then as we went through the process, we developed this method of recording, weighing, and it takes a bit of time to do that, but what we're focused on predominantly is trying to give the sailor, the solo sailor, what they want. I was talking to the 420 guys this morning, and the last thing they want is a mast that's too stiff. They spend half their life in the water, which is not what we want to do. And I've seen that in my local club in Christchurch, when I'm in brace officer duty. When it gets very, very blowy, a lot of solo sailors are in the water. So the focus is on trying to give the sailor or the class